And now we're going to move on to the keynote of the section, hosted by our gold sponsor, Siemens. I'm very happy to introduce you to Vivek Furtado, who's the head of Battery Vertical US at Siemens. So you're very welcome, Vivek. Thanks for joining us, and over to you.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. And Simon, Claude, thanks for having us here. Yeah, I'll get started. I'm going to talk about the unprecedented growth we have in the battery industry, the challenges it brings, but also how can we address these challenges and what's Siemens' role in all this. So moving forward, can you move on to the next slide? Yeah. So we all heard this. There's a booming global demand, which is unprecedented. We have practically a new industry segment which we can pursue, but with this also, it's driving a lot of performance-based innovations in terms of better productivity, better yield, and also regulations along sustainability, traceability, energy management. So next slide, please. Here are some numbers. You can see currently most of the investment and installed capacity is in Asia, but looking forward, we see that Europe and as well as the United States will also play a significant role here, which will lead up to a total capacity of over 4.7 trillion watt hours and a total investment of $400 billion. But I must also say we are at this point in a critical phase because we need to look at how we're going to scale up, how we're going to meet these demands. Next slide, please. So zooming in into the US scenario. So the US market is driven currently a lot by the EV sector and of course by the IRA. So there is, it's projected to reach over $100 billion and 1,200 gigawatts by 2030, driven by the IRA tax credits, both on the supplier as well as on the consumer sides. And we have seen this really to kickstart a lot of investments here in the US. We also see this as a great opportunity for machine and line builders and other parts of the supply network to supply to these gigafactories. Currently, we have a lot of machine builders on a global basis coming in from Asian countries, but we also see a lot of opportunities for domestic builders in the US. Next slide. So we as Siemens are in the midst of this. We have been working with many battery manufacturers across the globe, line builders, and these are some of the challenges we see. We see it's difficult sometimes to keep up with this pace the market is growing. How do you really deliver on, meet the milestones and speed up to gear up with the demands of the market? We also see there's a lack of flexibility sometimes because, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of innovation in terms of the battery chemistry, in terms of the manufacturing process. Then we have the topic of scaling up. We see a lot of manufacturers who are in the pilot stage, but we know it's a totally different game in scaling up to a gigafactory level. And later on, in a later session, my colleague Kyle will be talking on how to really, scale up gigafactories from a pilot stage. The compliance topics that will play a more significant role. Also, the risk of cyber attacks is not to be ignored. So we will show you what we think is the right approach to this and what platform would be required to address the challenges. So please go to the next slide. So we have a platform, what we call as the battery accelerator, to address these challenges. And we approach this in different, say, call it modules. It's on one hand focusing on the battery development and design, addressing not only the chemistry of the battery, but also the functionality and the holistic approach of the product here without actually building the battery. So that's one part of it. Then we have, of course, the battery smart manufacturing. So how would you build that factory? So we have different modules here, and I'll get a little bit more deeper into this topic in this next slides. Uh, how do we build up a smart factory? And then, of course, this topic of the machine engineering. You need equipment and machines to build the electrodes and all the equipment that is needed for that. You also need a factory. You need to put up a building. You need smart infrastructure and building management systems. And last but not least, we also have the module for the circularity topics. Some of the speakers before talked about traceability and uh, recycling. So this is something we also see it's important to include this already in the design stage, that we ensure that moving forward when uh, with the shortage of raw materials that we have, we include this intelligent battery circularity process right from the beginning. Can you move to the next slide? Yes, and like I said, moving deeper into the battery smart manufacturing, the way we see it is uh, it really makes sense to have what we call a digital twin of the factory right in front, where you can have the whole factory not only visualized but have a real representation of the manufacturing processes of the cells and assembly lines. This way, you can really see, once you design the factory layout and the equipment, what would be your possible yield, what would you have to optimize, what would be your energy consumption. So this is how we see and how we support our customers on their journey in building up a factory. So if you go to the next slide, we'll go a little bit deeper into these individual modules. So here's something what we call the virtual development of manufacturing. So in this case, we are able to accelerate the plant development. So here you see a picture on the right-hand side, what we've done with one of our customers, Freya from Norway, who's also, by the way, now investing in the US, to accelerate this plant design, the virtual commissioning of the machines, ensuring that we're not making too many mistakes once we're on the plant floor, and verify different manufacturing steps to validate different steps in the process, and also adapting quickly to cell format changes, right? This is also that we see more and more. People have to be more flexible. And last but not least, look at the footprint, the energy footprint, material usage, which will play a key role in the cost of the production. Next slide. Uh, an end-to-end integration and is critical, and this is a platform that you need to ensure you're getting all the information out of the manufacturing to optimize your production. And the way we do it is we work with standard frameworks and call it libraries. So we have a set of modules which our customers can use and ensure that they have, on one hand, the same look and feel on the operation level, help them in accelerating the engineering processes, so that there is, a good sense of productivity in the whole engineering process. We have also the topic of safety, which we try to build into the design upfront, and ensure there is a seamless start of production. Next slide, please. So once the line is set up and running, you want to, you're scaling up, and then, there's a question of you want to really increase the performance more and more, step by step. Then that's where we look at the data that is coming out of the processes. How can you use this data to ensure that you're getting the best yield, ensuring that this is connected to your quality data management, ensuring that you're meeting compliances, that you have the traceability topics in place. But also the topic of predictive maintenance. You want to ensure that the equipment that you have uh, has minimum downtime, and you're really ensuring that you have no cost related to any kind of breakdown or unforeseen issues. Next slide. So since we can offer this platform, which I say is a combination of software and hardware, we are able to define so-called digital threads, which are use cases for factories which go across the whole product. When I say product, I mean the battery, the equipment, the line builders who are, bringing the machines into this, but the whole plant by itself, right? And this really enables, efficiencies that you can see here with, you know, shorter, charging times, the uh, process times by 50%, and also increasing the quality levels by 30%. Next slide. So I talked about platforms, and this is the platforms that we have at Siemens. So it's really, I would say, end to end. Uh, the foundation starts, say, with the building, the electricals, the connectivity from here to the facilities, the automation, the analytics that you would need, like I said, for data management, to essentially with the goal to manage the capex investment that you have, but really optimize your operational costs. Next slide, please. The setup that we have is obviously Siemens a global setup, but we are really focusing on the battery industry. You can see here on this map where we are present, of course, not only the US, but across the world in Europe and Asia. You see that we are not doing this for the first time. We have uh, some big names and esteemed customers that we work together with, uh, also outside the US. And yeah, so we have a dedicated team who understand not only the battery side of things, but what else is needed to ensure that you're able to, like I said, scale up the production seamlessly to ensure the requirements of your customer. Next slide, please. So obviously, no one can do this alone. We need the ecosystem and a partner network, which includes people who can integrate systems, people who can train resources. I think that's really going to be one of the issues moving forward. Do we have enough resources to build a factory and operate the factory in the future? So I think we have to all work together to achieve these common objectives. We have to work with technology and research institutes and make sure that this all comes together, uh, as one community here. Next slide. Yeah, and I'd like to end here saying that we as Siemens would really like to support you in whatever capacity. We know that this is a team play for everyone. We offer from our side the domain know-how, uh, innovative solutions, partnerships, and of course the global presence that we bring with us. Yeah, and if you have any questions, I think I'm at the end of the time. Please post these questions in your comments. We will get back to you. And yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Vivek. Really appreciate these insights. And yeah, thanks for sharing contact details. I'm sure people are interested. Please follow up as well, or have a look at the deep dives later on as well. Thank you, Vivek.